And that's why Filipinos are always in the top 5 because we know how to do that.
Yeah, you sing black. Well, you have black in you. The Negritos
We
in the
are.
mountains. Come on.
You
man.
know about the Negritos and the Etas.
Please.
Who knows?
Did you know that?
What?
Did you know about the Negritos in the north of the Philippines and the Etas? We were,
They have afros in it.
yeah, we like a lot of like my mom has very curly hair. Like
Yeah.
Does she straight?
the north of the Philippines, no, she doesn't.
What are they called?
They're called Negritos.
Negrito.
Like
Yeah.
Negroes in it.
yeah.
But we were much shorter.
'Cause it's small. Ito
Yeah.
means small.
Yeah, Eta, yeah.
Could you call, like, if you see a black friend in the street, what's up?
The populations of the Philippines and Vietnam and Malaysia and Papua New Guinea and Australia and some parts of very southern China are these Negrito people. These Negrito people are slightly different but related to the Andamanese people. They're also related to other people of those regions. One mistake some people make is to relate them completely to Africa, when in actual fact, what it shows is that features from Africa that have been transmuted around the world are actually very common, meaning that not only is the race of Africans being limited in Africa incorrect, but it doesn't make sense in history as a whole. So, of course, when we look at those specific places, we can do this thing where we pick out giant groups, which is what I'm doing right now. But also, I want to zoom in and look at individuals that did stuff from those specific regions, from people who were taken from their lands, people who remained in their very customary ways, inventors, people who became president or whatever, and applied things. Because it's one thing if we just look at these black people and go, oh, they're black, that's great, and then we move on.
Korea, there's a word.
There's the original Filipinos.
Yeah, those are
there.
original Filipinos. That's what they look like for
We were black, babe.
black.
Oh,
yeah,
you guys were full-blown
they
black.
got African ancestry. Yep.
Yeah.
Look at Marianne, babe.
If these people look like this, how come almost nobody knows about them except people who pay attention to specific things, especially race? That's one of the things that I've noticed that people pay attention to, and they get to this place, or they pay attention to minority groups in Asia, which is one of the least paid attention to things, because everyone assumes that everyone in Asia looks like an Asian, even though Asia is probably physically, like if you just look at the people, one of the most diverse regions in the world. And thinking, like, I mean, let's think about it, 2025, and Asia still has people who look like black people. It has Indians, it has basically white people, and in fact the white DNA, and especially the blonde and all of that, started somewhere in Asia. And all of these things, so you got all of these groups, you got the Japanese light skin, and then you got the dark skin ones, and then you have the in-betweens, but all of these things are marked in one single place. And even though Africa is very diverse and genetically the most diverse, in fact, at one point we were so diverse that you probably would not recognize us as we are today, because a lot of the things that we have are actually more recent than we think. But if you look at Asia, you will notice that there are people in Asia who are like pale white, like the Japanese, and then you have people like this who are dark black. So
And it's all the original Australians. They're all black.
All Aboriginals.
Wow.
All the
yeah.
Aborigines are
Indigenous.
playing the didgeridoo.
Yeah.
And there's a little white girl with her dad. And she goes, "Who? What are those? Are those Australians?" He goes, "Yeah, those are the original ones." She goes, "What happened?" I was right.
wow.
Yeah.
Not
Well, he
sounds
just
weird.
learned what a Maori was 2 days
What?
ago.
In New Zealand,
Mallory.
Maori.
Mallory.
Malawi.
Mallory.
See, my tattoo is
I still want to point this out because I tried to do it last year and I think I failed, but it is still a trap that we use a system that was not designed by us, that was designed by other people, and so we will fail every time because, of course, genetically, if they go and test these Maurans or even Tongans or any type of Polynesians, you will find that there is a little bit of a difference between them and the Africans. But this is not what separated people racially or connected people racially. As you can see, these people are easily, if they were in Africa, they would have been easily seen as just native without any problems. The only thing is they hold certain things that Europeans value, like straight hair. Some of them are have very curly hair, and slightly paler skin, which is why sometimes the Europeans try to claim the Khoisan because they have pale skin and features that almost resemble Asians. But that little bit of difference for them is enough to make it different. But I'll ask it again. Why is it that we have to confine everything to Africa as a continent? Why is it that we have to block it and say if it's not from Africa, then it does not represent black? I remember there was some dudes that were debating some, I have to say, neo-Nazi type of character, and the guy said Europeans were more diverse physically, and the black people that were on the chat literally put up pictures of Polynesians, put it on the screen, and said, what feature do Europeans have that we can't find black people around the world, which they have? And of course, he got stuck. In fact, at that point, he started apologizing. I wish I remembered who those people were, but I remember that. And I think the reason why we are stuck with this idea that black means Africa, and I don't know why, but black means Africa, is because they've made it and they've put this limitation, and people are falling for it. Which is why I laugh every time people bring up the Middle Eastern, quote unquote, DNA of the ancient Egyptians. And I still say it to this day, that DNA was still black DNA. And you can see, if you go look at some of the early Bedouins, the real Bedouins, they're black people. But you're not going to see that if you're in a mental state where the only people who are black are the people in Africa.
Tonga.
Yeah,
It's Tongan.
yeah.
Well, it's Nigeria. It's Nigerian and Tongan mixed but a lot of the Polynesian and all that, it was African and Southern Chinese coming together. Look
Yeah.
at them.
Now I know Godfrey over here said that it's like a combination of Africans and Southern Chinese, but again, this comes from this mentality that everybody has to originate recently from Africa. Everyone did originally come from Africa at least 70,000 years ago, but it doesn't have to be recent. And these features that we hold, remember, all the stuff is merely physical appearance. All these features that we hold are held in other places around the world. If you want to go deeper about what a black person really is, and we don't go to diseases, we don't go to genetics, we don't go to any of that. If you really want to know who people are, you don't even go to their history. You go to the individual. And again, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because people do not talk about the individuals who contribute in these regions and of Indonesia and they always talk about them as large groups. And I've seen that happen with Africans as well, which is why I actually, a lot of my videos on my channel, I would zoom in to a black Muslim living somewhere. It's like, why am I making it about one specific Muslim? Well, you won't know how great these people were if you just look at them in general. Most people, I promise you, before they saw my channel, did not know that black Muslims were these sophisticated inventors who were free. I'm pretty sure they thought that the battle between Arab and black was always a slave versus master thing.
Then he would say stuff like, the first bones they ever found was in Africa.
True.
First man.
That's true.
Right? It's not. Asia.
No.
The first bone.
Asians.
No, what is the old? Look up Google.
Okay, Asians come from Africa.
I want to win this competition.
Oldest
Okay.
bones?
The oldest bones ever discovered in what continent?
Okay, yeah, please.
Please,
We're
please,
gonna win.
please.
Africa,
Please, please,
come on,
please,
come on,
please.
please, please,
Please,
He's like this. He's like this, Bobby.
Yeah.
God damn it, Bobby. I'm so sick of you.
Yeah.
It's and Asians come from the San people.
Where?
The San people
Where
of
does that
South
say?
Africa. The eight.
Morocco.
Morocco. That's Africa.
Okay, thank you.
Oh fuck.
That's as
Thank you.
African as you get with
I know.
Morocco.
yeah.
I know those.
Now, since he brought up the Khoisan people, I think it's important that I show you what they look like. And I promise you, if these people were not in Africa, there's no way in hell that people would say they were African in the same sense. And some people think that when I say that the people of the Americas are black, but they're not native Africans, people think that I'm saying that they're not natively African in the same sense that no, I'm not saying that they're not black. I'm saying they're literally black, but you're falling for a trap where they're gonna debunk you. They're trying to get you to say that those people are genetically related to modern West Africans. And then all they have to do after you accept that is they have to DNA test them, and when they find out that they're not that, now you have to say they're definitely not black. Meanwhile, on me on the other side, I go, no, they are black. Look at them, they look black. The people, the Olmec, look like the same thing as Polynesians, as some of those Maori that I showed you. In fact, they look blacker than some of those Maori people. They do not represent a white people. They do not represent a Caucasoid in any sense. They don't even represent an Asian type of facial feature. They represent Negroid features. That's why the Olmec look Negroid. But I have not married myself to genetics, because if you do that, you are going to fail. You are going to fall flat, because the genetics are in, and the genetics say that it's not a recent migration. And why would it be? The Olmec aren't recent. They've been in the Americas at least from 300 BC. Pretty old. But if anybody wants to marry themselves to the idea that the recent genetics of sub-Saharan Africans, or whatever you want to call them, Africans, is all you can go by, that's fine. But before you play that game, I want to show you something, that it's asymmetrical, that it's not symmetry, it's a broken game. So how do I prove this? Well, it's simple, right? We know that some people in Egypt, modern day Egypt, have black DNA. Does that make them black? Well, they don't think so. We know that everybody in the world has black DNA. They come from Africa. Does that make them black? Well, they don't think so. So why is it that we think that having black DNA makes you black, when we know that everybody's got black DNA and they don't consider themselves black? All DNA comes from black Africa. All of it. Just because you evolved somewhere else does not mean that you didn't start off with a black DNA. But it doesn't follow. What happens is they break it apart. They go, okay, blah blah blah, and we're playing with a game which is continental, okay? Confine it to the continent, and worst of all is they don't confine it to the continent. They then break it apart, because most North Africans have some African DNA, black African DNA, including the pale ones, and including people outside of the African continent in the Middle East. But they say that this is just like some small contamination, or oh, we also have that, also Africans are, it's just like, oh, it just exists in both of us. They don't play the genetics game. They play the physical game. They play the we look like this, therefore. And you'll notice it everywhere. I mean, look at Indians, Middle Easterners, and Europeans. What are they? They're the same group. Sometimes they'll claim they're the same group. Sometimes they'll claim they're different groups. Sometimes they'll even claim they're way different groups. People in the Middle East will claim they're very different than other people in the Middle East. For example, Jews and Arabs. They'll claim they're very different. Oh, who was there first? Well, how does that make sense? An Arab Jew and a Arab who believes in Islam they're part of the same race, but they break it down even further. By the way, I want to ask you guys a question, and this is a very important question. If we genetically test people from Asia and we find out that they have very little black DNA, but when you look at them, they look like black people, are you not going to call them a black person? I will. Also, I want to show you that these are the Khoisan, right? These are the Namakwa people of Namibia. This is what they look like in your face, and I try to make sure I get modern people because people always get the tribal, and yeah, I don't really like that. And this is what they look like. This is black people. This is what black people actually look like. In fact, these people look more like people that I'm used to than the darker skinned people. In fact, there's actually a whole thing in Africa about the light skinnedness of Southern Africans versus the dark skinnedness of Western Central Africans. It's a insider thing, inside Africa thing that needs to be talked through. But again, how could you possibly make these people and West Africans be the same, but then have people who are Andamanese and all that other people who look way more similar to West Africans and other people like that, and then pretend that they're a group that has nothing to do with these people?
White scientists go, damn it, another bone. Fuck. We dug in Ireland, nothing. Oh, and they just found in London, they just found a bone. The oldest bone, it's a black dude. They're so pissed. It's like, bullshit. Are you fucking kidding me? No, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
No, it's a black dude. He's called the Cheddar Man. Show the Cheddar Man.
The Cheddar Man?
Show the Cheddar Man. This is like 2-3 years ago. They were upset. They were like, no, it's impossible. No, a black man, no fucking way. There it is. Yeah.
That's not black.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, that is black.
Hey, come on, dude.
Is that
Well, the first one's not.
Well, they made it.
The first one's Hispanic for sure.
They're trying to give him long.
And look at the Cheddar Man over here. The right. It just depends on what skin tone you
that's
give them.
called fucking with it.
Yeah. No.
It's you can't deny DNA. You know what
But I'm just saying.
Now, because of this idea that black people will have curly hair and blah blah blah, obviously they're having a harder time accepting that that person's black because of thingy. And this is what I'm talking about, the trap. But I actually want us to clear our mind for a second and think, when the Polynesians first landed in America, did those people think, oh, white people? When black Africans landed in America, did those Americans think, oh, white people? Or was color not a factor since the people were the same? Even in the Middle East, because race was still being, it was still being cooked in the Middle East somewhere, they used to call black people bald people, basing their race mainly on the fact that they did not have long hair for the most part. And those were the black Africans within Africa, because of course there were other black people who they considered black who had long hair. What we will do now is what we call a similarity table. And something that will strike you as odd is how similar these people are, which is why I'm fully okay with calling them the same thing. Whether you want to call them black, whether you want to call them Negroid type, whatever word you're comfortable with, that's fine. This is an Olmec statue of a female. This is a digital recreation, which obviously slides more to the African version of what these people look like. But look at this African woman, digital creation, and the statue, which is a real creation of the Olmec, and then look at the one in the middle, which is the people from the region. In some odd way, they actually do all look alike. The lips, the nose, the eyes, the forehead, everything about it is the same. In fact, if this woman, well, had her hair shaved, I would think she was a Khoisan of some kind. Anyway, we'll get back to this.